Hello, movie fans. Today, I will explain a 2007 Thai romantic movie called Love of Siam. Let's jump to the explanation. A youngster named Mew, who once resided with his grandma, is introduced in the first scene of the narrative. Mew wasn't interested in being friends with Tong despite his attempts to do so. They were both students at the same institution. When such boys arrived and began tormenting Mew one day, Tong was present and assisted the victim. In the course of this, he sustained some minor damage as well, but only after that did they establish a strong friendship. Following that, Tong takes a short family trip. Upon returning from vacation, Tong does not see his sister. Instead, he returns with his family. With several of her friends, she chooses to stay at the destination for a few more days. Even though there are still many days left, his parents decide to travel there after leaving Tong at Mew's house. Even Pai's parents in the hamlet have not arrived back yet, while the hunt for Pai continues slowly. After a week, his parents come back, but Pai is not there. Pai and her friends went hiking in the forests, but she never came back. She didn't know where she was. His parents came looking for him, but she never even got to meet them. His father's sadness stems from this loss. They begin hating themselves for not stopping Pai from leaving. After this incident, Tong's father reportedly determines they won't stay in this house and will go somewhere else. Mew is told everything by Tong. Mew feels depressed once the family of the only two defects move out of that house and into another location. Now, a family moves in with a girl to that home. The narrative here evolves as time goes on. After 6 years, Tong and Mew are now adults. Mew was now the main vocalist of a band called Banka August 1st, and Tong had a girlfriend with whom he was having a difficult time. Currently, one of that group's songs has been released and is a major smash. However, the group's management advised them to record a love song tree because the market is more in need of such songs. June is the assistant that the management also recruited to help with all of these eyeballs. June reminded me perfectly of Tong's sister. After finishing up at school, the group's members visit a store where they learn that their album's CDs have all been sold, making it a big success. Tong also visits the store to get a CD of the same song by the August group, but it is already out of stock. Then he runs into Mew. According to Music, he went there to purchase a CD of his song. You don't need to buy it, according to Mew, who will make a duplicate and give it to him. Both of them also exchanged phone numbers in this regard. Now that it is night, Mew needs to make a copy of the blue CD. Mew contacts Tong and informs him that the duplicate is prepared. They agreed to meet the next day in the side square. He was in school and eating lunch with some of his pals the next day, as seen. Why doesn't he show Suni much emotion, and why should he? He doesn't answer her phone or accompany her on a walk. Suni is a good girl, and her friends know that. Therefore, he shouldn't treat her this way. Tong makes contact with Suni and invites her to see him after persuading his pals. Once he arrives at the sign square to meet Suni, where he had been waiting for her, and Suni does not appear, he calls Mew to inform him that he will not be able to see him today because he must meet someone else. He then gets up and begins walking away. He occasionally notices Mew entering from the front. They discuss the CD copy while they are sitting still. Mew informs him that he has given one of his buddies the copy. Mew explains to Tong that there is no reason why he shouldn't visit his home, where he will produce a CD and deliver it to him. Tong gets ready, and then they both head over to the Mew residence. However, we can see Tong's mother. Her spouse had undertaken various tests, and the results weren't favorable at all. In truth, her husband had become an alcoholic as a result of Pai's defeat, and his liver was in terrible shape. The scene here is different. After viewing Pai's old house, Tong remembers that he was at Mew's house, and he starts to feel a little depressed. Mew realizes that he hasn't yet forgotten about his sister after observing this anguish. He is questioned by Mew about what he would say if he had the opportunity to see his sister once more. According to Tong, he will inquire as to her motivation. How come she left them in this situation? Mew presented Tong with the completed copy. Speaking to each other, Ying, a girl, arrives at the residence at that very moment. She liked Mew and was one of her neighbors. Mew, however, is unaware of this. Tong exits the building and arrives at his home. where his mother informs him of all the details of his father's deteriorating health. Although Tong gives his father some food and medicine, he does not consume both. Alcohol was all he drank. But when we look at Mew, we can tell that he had written a love song. He plays the song for his manager, who is quite impressed and immediately gets to work getting the song produced. He was practicing the same song with his bandmates when Mew summoned Tong to the studio to listen to him perform. Mew had based the song's lyrics on Tong and his childhood recollections. To hear Mew's music, Tong arrives in the studio. He is very shocked to see June, as June resembles his sister Pai in every way. They all eat lunch together when the practice is finished. After lunch, everyone returns to their own homes, but Tong joins Mew at her home rather than returning to his own. Mew informs Tong that his grandma passed away following his departure. After that, he was totally by himself, and he's been living alone for the past 6 years. While Tong had yet to come home, Tong's mother was growing increasingly agitated as the night wore on and became too much. Beginning at home, she begins searching everywhere for feet. Likewise, Tong spends the entire night in Mew's home before departing early the next morning for his own home. After spending the entire night looking for him, Tong's mother also finds him when she comes home in the morning, and when she does, she is relieved to see him there. She had already lost one of her children, and she was now terrified of losing Tong, so she was extremely afraid. Following this, Tong travels to a restaurant the following day with pals, where Ying is also there. Ying's friends mention these things to everyone to show how much she adores her neighbor. Tong hears this as well. Ying then stands up and walks away. Tong was distressed about his father's illness since it was growing worse. He then informs his mother that a female can assist while also improving his father's condition. The following day, Mew, June, and Tong's mother cross paths. Tong's mother is equally astounded to see June. June accepts a job from Tong's mother. If she receives the funds, she will temporarily live as her daughter in her home. June is prepared to complete this task since she needs the money. June is being driven to their home by Tong and Tong's mother. By witnessing June, Tom's father is likewise totally duped, and he, too, does not comprehend June. June then leaves the residence after giving Tong's father food and medicine. The father of Tong also throws a celebration. To celebrate their daughter's return, the August group is also invited to the celebration. Mew performs a song he made himself, a love ballad, for Tong in front of him. Mew singing a song for Tong in this manner explains everything to June. Mew and Tong too were seated together after the celebration was done. Mew claims that Tong was the subject of the song, and now that Tong has heard the song, would he wish to comment? Without saying a word, Tong will kiss Mew, and all of these things will take place as Tong's mother watches from behind. Tong's mother drops him off at school the next morning, but she doesn't inquire about last night. After leaving school, Tong's mother visits the psychology department, where she sees other guys hanging out, like Tong and Mew. After that, she goes to visit Mew at his home and questions him about Tong and Mew's connection. Mew assures her that they don't have a romantic connection. They're simply pals. After softly departing, we hear Ying and can see the outside. She came to give him flowers after learning about everything. She is saddened by this, and she goes to her room and takes down every image of Mew off the wall because she used to adore Mew. But Mew and Tom had intended to eat supper together at night. He places a call when he gets to the Tong eatery and waits for the response. Mew, however, neither answers his phone nor shows up there. When Tong is ready to go home, his mother arrives at a restaurant. Ying is there when Tong visits some of his buddies. The next day, June arrives at the school to see Mew because she didn't even visit the studio yesterday, which led to a little issue that prevented her from informing him that the group has been scheduled for August. Mew had cut them off from Tong. He never speaks to him or answers any of his calls. Mew also ceased visiting the studio. On the other hand, Tong's father's health was deteriorating as well. One day, Ying was present while Tong was with pals. We now witness June giving Tong's father the tale while displaying pictures of their family. Tong's mother is a little taken aback by the reality of the tale she is telling. Because Tong's father was bleeding, June's mother called her back as she left Tong's home. His father's health was critical when they took him right away to the hospital since 80% of him had become worse. June visited Tong's mother while she was by herself in the hospital, and now she confides in her about everything. When Mew returns to the Ying room after that, he discovers his images from below. He only informed her that he was a close buddy. The boss fired June from her job the next day when she reported to work since she had missed practice and the festival, which she was supposed to be taking care of but was unable to accomplish. Because his team members were so irate, the boss decided to terminate her from her job. The group's ex-member now frequents Mew's residence. X should tell him to forgive them if they made a mistake and ask them to get back to him. Mew claims that they did nothing wrong, and he wasn't upset with him. He simply isn't able to perform that song again. On the second day before the festival, Mew returns to his group, and the August band performs. Suni and Tong break up, and Tong attends Mew's concert. Mew praises his performance, and Tong, who is not Mew's boyfriend, gives him a Christmas gift. Tong discovers June has gone back, and everything is fine in the Tong family. Mew flips up a toy at his house. The beautiful movie ends here. If you liked this, please subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.